Hello and welcome to the Hoops Hall of Fame podcast. This is Matt Lehner. Today we're going to be talking about vertical jump training, and I'm going to give you a 4-step process that any good program or any good athlete follows in the course of their training development to improve their vertical jump. I get a lot of questions from athletes, and I have gotten a lot of questions over the years about increasing vertical jump. Obviously, I can jump pretty high for my size, and vertical jump training is something that I have been studying and been practicing myself for probably 8-9 years now. And I've had multiple injuries, and I've still been able to get back to dunking and get my vertical back to the 40-inch range. So I believe that I have a lot of knowledge on this topic, and that's why athletes ask me these questions a lot. So I'm going to give you guys a 4-step process that any good program and any good athlete follows to improve their vertical jump. The first step is movement efficiency and activation patterns, how well your body functions. This is the fundamental level that you start at when you're trying to increase your vertical jump or really any athletic movement. This would include things like how well your feet function at the base level, ankle strength and stability, and then we would move up to just flexibility. You need flexibility within your entire body to be able to move and to resist injury. You need core strength. You need, most importantly, glute strength and the ability to recruit your glutes and have your glutes be the primary mover of your body, the biggest muscle, the most important muscle for jumping or any athletic movement. So we really need to make sure that this muscle group is firing properly, and actually for a lot of athletes it is not. So this will be something we focus very heavily on. If you guys want some more drills that you can do to really work on this aspect, like I said, this is the foundational level, so you really need to focus on this before you focus on any of the other 3 qualities. I have a program that I wrote for you guys and that I have the video series for called 7-Day Basketball Athlete. It's on my YouTube channel. If you just click on playlist, you'll find the playlist. I believe there's 10 to 12 drills or videos. If you guys just follow that program, it'll take care of this aspect of vertical jump development. A lot of the drills will seem kind of weird or unnecessary, but again, this is the foundational level of improving your vertical jump. And if you follow that program for 7 days, and even if you continue to follow it for times after that, you'll really hone in on this aspect of vertical jump development. So I would definitely recommend that you check that program out and that you get started on it. Again, if you email me or message me or get in contact with me, I'll send you the PDF that comes with the program, but I also just have the videos where you can follow the videos, and I'll list the sets and reps and how to do the exercise. So I would definitely check that out. Again, 7-Day Basketball Athlete on this on my YouTube channel. Just click on the 7-Day Basketball Athlete playlist. So some drills, obviously, to improve this, we would do for foot function, we would do foam rolling, we would do towel grabs where you actually pick up a towel with your feet to work on foot strength. For ankle strength and stability, we would do things like balancing on one leg. We would do stuff with bands like rotations, even drills like line hops where you hop across a line barefoot. You want to do all drills in bare feet to really work on that ankle strength and stability. We would do drills like lateral barrier jumps where you actually jump over an object back and forth, front to back, to work on that ankle strength and stability and ability to absorb force. Obviously, for flexibility, you guys know stretches. Some of the most important stretches would be the rear foot elevated stretch where you have your foot elevated on a bench behind you and you're stretching out the hip flexor and the quad is one of the most important stretches. Stretching your hamstrings is very important for basketball, as well as your calves. Those are probably the muscle groups that get the most tight for you basketball players. But really, I mean, there's a billion stretches you guys should be doing for basketball and just for your body in general. And then for glute function, we would do things like bird dogs, super dogs, glute bridges, hip raises, just for body type movements. And then for core, obviously there's tons of great exercises. Any planks are really good, probably the most important for basketball. Sit-ups are things that I don't typically recommend. They're bad for your back, but there's a lot of great core exercises out there we could do. But if you just stick with planks, side planks, front planks, things like that, that'll really take care of a lot of that for you. So again, this is the foundational level, movement efficiency, how well our body functions. Again, check out 7-Day Basketball Athlete for an actual program to follow to work on this foundational aspect. Number 2 level would be jumping technique, how you jump, the form, your approach, really attacking and increasing the speed at which you can approach the place where you're jumping from is really important. A guy that knows the most about this would be Adam Linkenauger. If you just search him on YouTube, he has programs called Vert Freak. He's really one of the best guys out there for increasing or improving your jump technique, specifically off one foot, because he was a high jump champion, ACC high jump champion in college. But just some base level knowledge. For 2-foot jumping, you really want to focus on jumping close to the rim. I see a lot of athletes, I mean, even off 1 foot, but usually off 1 foot, we're going to take off a little further away from the rim, but specifically off 2 feet. When you're first learning to dunk, when you're first learning to jump at the rim, you really want to focus on jumping straight up. You don't want to, take off 2 feet away from the rim and then have to jump high and horizontally. You want to jump straight up. So a lot of athletes I see, the biggest issue is they take off too far away from the rim. This is a problem I had. You really want to make sure you're jumping straight up, that all your force and momentum is carrying you straight up in the air. That way you can get the most height on your jump. So that's one of the biggest things. Specifically off 2 feet, you want to get low. You want to really use your arms. You want your arms to swing back as you're planting your feet, and then swing them up as you're raising your hips. And that'll really help you get probably an extra 3 inches if you actually learn how to recruit your arms properly in your jump. The biggest issue off 1 foot, again, other than taking off too far away from the rim when we're first learning to dunk or jump in general, the next biggest issue off 1 foot I see is athletes stutter stepping on their approach. You don't want to stutter step, you want to start off slower, and then every step gets a little bit faster. This would be 2 feet as well. You want to increase the speed every step, whether you're, some athletes might approach faster than others, but the key is you want to start slower and slowly build that momentum. Obviously, during the game, you're not going to think about this, but when we're working on this and training for jumping or for dunking, would be something we're focused heavily on. So increasing the speed every step, not stuttering, and then off 1 foot, we want to stay tall. You don't want your leg to bend. You don't want any flexion. You don't want any... you don't want your leg to be at a 45-degree angle or a 60-degree angle. You want it to basically be 90. You want it completely straight, not 90, 180 degrees. You want it completely straight, and then just go straight up in the air. So if you can picture it, you'd almost have your back leaning backwards and your foot completely straight, because that means you're breaking that momentum. If your core is leaning forward past your midsection, and our knee is broken, we're losing momentum. If our leg is straight and our core is actually slightly tilted backwards, almost like when you're doing a deadlift and you get to the top position and you lean back a little bit to keep yourself straight, that's kind of the position you want your torso to be in. That means we're breaking that momentum, that forward momentum, and transferring it upward. So, I mean, it's hard to describe. Maybe I'll make a video for you guys, an actual jumping video. If you guys would like that, just let me know. I can make a video of myself or some other athletes and how they actually jump and the proper technique, and these things you could actually see in video. But jumping technique is the second level that we need to focus on. Obviously, if our body's not functioning properly and we don't have good form, it's not going to matter anything else we work on, because we're just building it on a bad foundation. If you're going to build a house, you need a solid foundation. So these are the two kind of foundational levels that we need to focus on when building an athlete's vertical jump. So number 2, jump technique. Number 3, strength. We need to have a good deal of strength. Now this is going to vary on the athletes. Every athlete's a little bit different. Some typical numbers that are thrown around is you need to build a squat. Back squatting is kind of the foundational exercise for strength development for vertical jump, but I mean there's tons of great exercises. Any type of squat, front squats are sometimes even better, specifically for basketball players, because you're holding the weight in front of you, you're recruiting your core more. But some typical numbers that athletes are recommended to have to be good jumpers would be 1.5 times your body weight, meaning that if you weigh 100 pounds, you should at least be able to squat 150 pounds. So that's kind of the typical number. If you can get that up to 2 times your body weight, again, if you were 100 pounds, it'd be squatting 200 pounds with good form to parallel or even below, then that would mean that you would have a very high vertical jump if all these other qualities are in place. And I've seen that in my own development. Pre-knee injuries, I was squatting about 350 and I was about 175 pounds. So I was, over just about at that 2 times body weight level, and I was jumping over 40 inches. I didn't actually measure it at the time, but a year and a half before that, I was jumping over 37 inches, and I was jumping higher this time. So I guarantee you it was over 40 inches. I was windmilling, I was 360, I was put back dunks over people in games. This is before my injuries, and I could squat over twice my body weight. So this is definitely something that a lot of basketball players in general, younger players, they just don't have the strength levels to actually get themselves off the ground. And the reason why strength is important is because it's the force component. Really, vertical jumping is force times acceleration, meaning the force is how much strength we have, and then the acceleration would be how fast we can apply that force. Obviously, a vertical jump movement is very fast. It occurs within 0.2 to 0.1 seconds. So we need to be able to apply a ton of force in that short period of time. So the more force we have available to us, meaning the more strength we have. If you were to take an athlete that could squat 200 pounds versus an athlete who could squat 400 pounds, that 400 pound squatting athlete is going to have a lot more force to apply in that 0.1, 0.2 seconds. So if they have the ability to apply that force quickly, then they'll be able to jump a lot higher. If you can think about it, however much you weigh, what is a vertical jump movement? A vertical jump movement is moving your body weight through the air off the ground. So the ability of your muscles to contract with a high level of force, your strength, is how high you'll be able to get off the ground, because you need that level of muscle contraction to actually force your body into the air. So strength is the force component of the force times acceleration, which is power. Power is force times acceleration. So vertical jumping is a measure of power. You need the force, and then the number 4, the next topic, is the acceleration component. You need reactive strength / rate of force development. And these exercises that you'd be doing for this would obviously be your plyometrics. You can do fast weightlifting movements like speed squats, jump squats, just jumping drills in general. And honestly, probably the best jumping exercise for basketball players is to actually just go out on the court and practice jumping as high as you can. We can get super complicated with this stuff. Just going out on the court and jumping as high as you possibly can. Actually dunking, because dunking is slightly different than just jumping, is probably the best thing you can do for basketball players. I spent a lot of time when I was younger just doing plyometrics, and I did see improvements. But when I actually went out onto the court and started just dunking, just practicing dunking, that's when I seen the best improvements in my vertical jumping and in my dunking ability. So that's what I would recommend for you basketball players when you're at this level. Once you've spent some time building your strength, then you can move into more plyometric training and actually working on dunking. Another tip that I've found recently that works well for me, if you're a basketball player in particular, which a lot of you listening to this podcast, probably most of you are basketball players, is to actually do your jump training holding a basketball. So like whatever drill you're doing, just practice holding the ball and jumping. That way it'll work on you powering up into the air, holding the ball, which is what you're doing when you're jumping, even going up for rebounds. It's more basketball specific. So I found that helps very well in your jump training. And now these 4 topics, these 4 levels. The first level of movement efficiency is kind of the foundational level. It's not a level that we'll necessarily go back to, meaning that once we got it under control, as well as with jumping technique. Once we have movement efficiency and jumping technique down, then really the only thing we're going to do is spend time working on our strength. And once our strength improves to a certain level, then we'll move into our reactive strength, our plyometric phase, and then we'll just go back between the two, strength and plyometrics. So usually, if you could imagine, we might spend, in like an 8-week program, we might spend 5 to 6 weeks just working on our strength, and then the rest of the 3 to 2 weeks we would spend peaking out that strength, just doing plyometrics. Obviously, in any program, we're still going to be working on our movement efficiency. We're still going to work on our jump technique. But once we've initially addressed these topics, then we're going to spend less time on them and focus more on the strength and more on the rate of force development and reactivity in our program. And then we just alternate between the two. So we spend more time building the strength. Strength takes a little bit longer to build. And then we'll move into 2 to 3 weeks of plyometrics and then go back to 5-6 weeks of strength and then 2 to 3 weeks of plyometrics. That's a really good program to follow. And obviously it depends on the athlete as well. Some athletes are stronger than others. So for those athletes, we might do more plyometric training. For athletes that already have high reactivity strength, eccentric strength, rate of force development, they're able to apply a lot of force quickly, but they just need more force to apply. We'd spend more time on strength. So it depends on the athlete. That's why you need a trainer. You need a program that addresses your individual strengths and weaknesses and focuses in on whichever ones you're focusing on, and also takes into consideration all the other training you're doing, how much basketball you're playing, how many skill workouts you're doing, because those things, obviously basketball and doing skill training, you're doing jumping, you're doing speed and quickness in the games, in your workouts. So we might spend less time actually doing jumping drills because we don't want to wear your body out. So there's a lot of different things you got to take into consideration. That's why it's important to have a trainer. It's important to follow a program that's built with everything built in and everything taken into consideration. But again, those are the 4 levels to jumping improvement. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned kind of the foundational aspects of jump training. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to message me about anything that we talk about on this podcast. Please like on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and please comment. I really enjoy everything you guys have to say. Again, I'm looking to start training you guys with monthly programs, so whatever you want to work on, whether that's scoring, ball handling, shooting, vertical jump, speed, quickness, I can make programs for you every month focusing on one of those aspects, and then after that month we'll retest and give you a new program, a more advanced program. And again, if you're interested, just message me, get in contact with me. I can give you guys the prices. Working on building a website right now and getting these things put together. So if you guys are interested, just keep in touch. And please comment, subscribe. I'll talk to all of you again tomorrow on the Hoops Hall of Fame podcast.